Alrighty, and this is Alan G. Davison. And next up on the proverbial chopping block is hope. Now, I originally wanted to make this this story as convoluted as humanly possible, and making it very difficult to understand. And no character better creates that impression than hope. Ah, yes. I have no idea what I was thinking when I came up with this character, because lo and behold, the mentor of this 5-man group is nuts as far as I'm concerned. I swear, she does anything and everything in terms of manipulation. Talk about counterproductive, folks. I can't even say the word, and she can't even do any good helping. Giving her the blessing of teleportation, I decided to make her as elusive a character as possible, hinting that she could be any number of individuals. As most time travelers are usually pretty straightforward on who they actually are in the future, I wanted her to be impossible to peg down. Now, the original idea behind her is that something happened similar to the events that is coming place in the actual book itself, and there was no hope in the original events. Things got screwy, things went wrong, and one of the original group, not telling you who, if you can figure it out, you're more than welcome to post your opinions, but you'll just have to wait for me to write the actual book itself. Anywho, I really did create this character to be as world-weary as humanly possible. Now, exactly how she's technically still alive out of living through so many different time travel is a plot point. So, anybody who's really good at nitpicking and stuff like that, don't worry, everything gets explained eventually. Anyway, she's basically the individual who has figured out that they were the only individuals that came close to, their overall goal. Now, I can't really say exactly what the goal is, to be honest, but they were the closest to doing it before they ended up getting killed. And so, she's basically spent her entire life and dedicated her entire life to manipulating the events of the book to get the best in hopes of actually seeking an end to her overall quest. Now, for those of you who are pretty smart and probably figured it out already, I'm going to continue to pretend like I am an exceptionally smart individual and that you guys have absolutely no idea until you get to that part where I actually tell you. Now, overall, I really did go out of my way to make her as dislikable as possible. Mainly because overall, she does a lot of things that a normal mentor in any sort of situation wouldn't do. Purposely withholding information from Darius, blatantly lying to Dayan. I honestly think by the end of the first book, the only individual who could really get along with her at all was Lucius. And that's mainly because, well, he's Lucius. He can get along with anyone. But yeah, she was there as a guide in the worst sense of the word, as a person who was willing to point you in a direction of where they saw fit that you needed to go, not where you saw fit to needed to go. Now, mind you, if she had, the book would probably be a lot more shorter in retrospect, but that was always just it, is that the fastest way isn't always the most effective way in the long term. She knew that everybody needed to be strong, everybody needed to learn how to use their blessing, and so put everyone into a position where they were required to. When in the course of the first book, if you haven't gotten there yet, or if you don't really care at all, when Dayan ended up running into Sam, who eventually would help him understand and control his blessing a little bit more easily. So, yeah, she did do right by the group in a sense, by letting them grow stronger, by giving them the information they needed, but at the same time, she has this habit of just not being nice about anything. And we all probably know these people. They more often than not probably rub us the wrong way whenever we really have to deal with them. And to be honest, that's really the whole concept behind the character, She was a lot of things, but not everything I can really say at this point in time, mainly because it would really be a serious spoiler to really explain it. But more or less, she was also supposed to show how characters and people do change over time. A symbol of growth, but growth can also be counterproductive. Many of the things she does don't really inspire a whole lot of trust. She, more often than not, stood in the background while Darius did most of the work. And overall, she was a relatively cruel individual when it came straight down to it. More often than not, she sort of, over her time period, has grown to no longer care. Mind you, what's driving this woman is pretty powerful, but you can only go through seeing your friends die so many times before you eventually become unfazed by it. Which is kind of an interesting thing to really think about, is that you see something so many different times over and over again, how desensitized you can become by it. Which was another thing that the character was pretty effective at doing. I really took a lot of inspiration for the character from another Star Wars related project. Was from, I think it was Kreia. Only Kreia was Hope is a different type of manipulator. She honestly wants the heroes to succeed. She wants them to win. She wants them to find their happily ever after. And she has seen their happily ever after as well. She's seen what happens if what occurred had left them alone completely. But in the end, that is not the best for the world itself. And I think she's interesting in the sense that everything she does can be very confusing. I don't even understand half of what she's doing. Sometimes it's plot contrivances, all sorts of other mean and things that authors probably shouldn't really admit to doing, but I am a new author, and I am going to get away with it by saying, I am ignorant of these ways of which you speak of. I never met another author in my entire life, and so I am going to be doing it my way. So that was always my sort of mentality behind her, and she was always one step ahead of everyone. One step ahead of Darius, one step ahead of Dayan, and sometimes she would withhold information, but she would tell you she was withholding information. Because she knew that, every little thing she does, every petty contrivance, every little insignificant thing that she does, always had some reason behind it. It's just that it's sort of gotten muggled over the thousands of lifetimes that she's sort of lived through over time and space. And so her messages could be a little bit mixed, her lessons could be a little confusing, and that was the whole, that was original, that wasn't intentional, by the way. I really didn't know a whole lot to do with the character itself, except that she would give the group direction. However, she might not have always been giving them very good directions. That was more my own incapable thought as a new author that probably gave her that level of cynicism and spite. Yeah, she knew that I was a complete and total hack, and so she decided to start being mean to everyone she could. Oh my god, my characters have taken a life of their own, and they're attacking and trolling me at every single turn. Anyway, though, I have to admit, I did give her a little bit of humor, and I made it pretty blatantly obvious as well that when she was trying to tell a joke, trying to fit in, trying to explain things as best she possibly could. But that's just it, is that in her mind, in my mind as well, is that information is a very dangerous thing. And the truth and the lies can be destructive and hurtful in both senses of the word. So, yeah, the only way you're not going to hurt anybody is if you all shut up. Ha-ha! Not that any of you care. Anyway, that's the whole thing, is that she really doesn't see things as black and white or gray or rainbowish or, any other color under the friggin' sun. And she just sees things as a case-by-case point. And in the end, you will never be able to know exactly what her motive is, what her thought process is, and I think that just kind of scares me, too. In a sense that I'm the author, the man who wrote this story, is incapable of truly pegging this character down. And that's also kind of why she sort of stepped into the background towards the end of the story, is that the group needed to do what they needed to do. Everyone had their confrontational fight, more or less, with the exception of Sam, who sort of got sided on that one, but let's be honest, he got a lot of character development, and a lot of the story focused on him, despite him not being very detrimental to the plot at all. So, yeah, I know, everybody had their personal grudges, their own things to turn out, and what really started to, really started to shape her a little bit more was when things didn't start going like she expected them to. It's shown a little bit in the first book, but even more so in the second book, is that she's not the type of individual who likes it when things don't go the way she anticipates them. And more often than that, it's going to hurt her a little bit in later parts of the second book. What I'm currently writing right now would be an excellent case of that. But that was the whole idea behind her, is that everything she does has a reason, everything she does have a purpose. However, things get a little muggled after 1,000 years or so. And so I really wanted to create the finality of how tired she was during one of her earlier conversations with Dayan, in the sense that she was really sick and tired of doing this over and over and over again. And while she probably could, if everyone died or something bad happened, she could go back and do it again, she's really tired of it. Because, she's just tried so many different ways, so many different things, so many different everything, and nothing's ever seemed to work, and nothing ever has worked. And so, when things really start changing, she starts freaking out, because she no longer has the answers that she used to. And I guess that's pretty much her character, pretty much summed up, is that she was always about control. She was always about understanding everything. And so, when things of the events of the book start to finally take place, it starts to really mess with her. Man, I love jelly beans. I got purple stuff. Well, anyway. That was originally her character idea. And she was a lot of other important things as well, but I'm not really going to go into a whole lot of detail, because let alone that would give away some of the plot. Even more so than I already have. I mean, I have to admit, I've probably not been very good with spoiler alerts. I probably should have put that in the friggin' description. Who actually reads the description? Seriously. Who knows. Anyway, I really did, I really like, Alicia. And in some parts, Lucius, she was also another character I really didn't know what to do with, and so she sort of just did her own thing. I really created a interesting character in her, in the sense that she is a contradiction of every single thing a really good mentor would probably be. Well, some mentors, like in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Braum from Aragon, and all the other TV shows and animes, and all the other cool stuff out there that we all enjoy watching, she doesn't really do her job very well. She delegates. She's gotten things down to a science. She's really desensitized herself to everything. Darius eventually became a mentor to Alicia. Sam became the mentor to Dayan, and she didn't really have anything she could technically teach Lucius, except for, train more. So, while she's delegated, she's sort of made herself useless in a sense, because nobody really does trust her. Nobody really looks up to her much during the course of the story, because, let's face it, realistically speaking, you can only lie to a group of individuals for so long before they finally start to, catch on to you. And, well, I think that pretty much sums up her character quite nicely. I wouldn't mind actually being able to go back and actually putting these things out after the final book has come out, and really explain all the characters in much better detail and much better explanation. But, to be fair, right now I'm just putting my thoughts out there, and to be honest, this isn't the most professional way to go about doing it, but you know what? I enjoy talking, and I enjoy the sound of my voice. This has been Alan G. Davison with another character.